Good evening, everyone. Thank you for attending. Anyone who may not know, I'm Commissioner Bill O'Day. Commissioner Lipski and I had, previously we had a meeting, I believe in February, over by Lincoln Park on the boulevard to discuss some of the issues there. We had at that point in time agreed to do a follow-up meeting. Originally we were looking to do it at PS 31 because some of the concerns that were raised at that meeting by residents in fact related to that particular stretch of the boulevard from the square to Highway 139. I know we have the county engineer, Tom Malavasi, here. The groups had requested that we have representatives from both the Port Authority, PATH, and also New Jersey Transit. They are also in attendance today, so I'm co-hosting, but I'll turn it over to the representative from this area, Commissioner Yraida-Lipski. Aponte-Lipski.
Good evening, everyone. I am Commissioner Yraida Aponte-Lipski, and I'm glad to be here to discuss how we could make Kennedy Boulevard safer. Also, we would like to talk about the goals for Vision Zero. We've been talking about and planning around it, how to implement it and work to it. Thank you.
So maybe if we could have the other speakers just introduce themselves.
Sure. Hello, everyone. My name is Byron Nicholas. I'm currently Hudson County's Division Chief of Planning. My previous role with the county was supervising transportation planner, working in engineering. So, I'm happy to be here with you guys and happy to answer any questions you guys may have. All right?
Thanks.
Good evening. Tom Malavasi, county engineer. Happy to be back in front of the crowd. A few more people than last time, but hopefully we can address some of the questions that were asked at the last meeting.
Hi, Paul Wycroft, New Jersey Transit. We want to thank the commissioners and the county officials for inviting us tonight. Look forward to discussion with you.
Yes, John Colle, Government Community Relations for Transit.
Good evening, Craig Guy, Chief of Staff to the Hudson County Executive, Tom DeGise.
So I think the best format might be that we had asked Craig, who's the Chief of Staff to the County Exec, to come as a guest speaker or special guest. So maybe Craig could give us a little overview on what the progress is on some of the items that individuals would like to discuss. I know that some questions had been provided to both NJ Transit and the Port Authority. I don't know if it would make sense that after Craig goes to allow those agencies to address those questions, and then we would ostensibly, I think, open up to the public, but we'd want at least County Engineer Tom Malavasi to give an update on some of the issues that were raised at the last meeting. So we'll have Craig go first. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill, and thank you, Commissioner Lipski, for hosting this forum tonight. I've spoken to numerous members of the group here. I would guess that most folks followed our campaign, myself, Bill's, and Yraida's. I'm not sure if there's any other folks that ran with us here, during the campaign for the last 6 to 9 months. And we spoke a lot, and I spoke a lot. Commissioner Basleys from North Bergen. I'm sorry, Bob. Commissioner Basleys.
Bob, we'll get you a chair if you want.
You can't hide. So, we all talked a lot about traffic, pedestrian, cycle safety. And I've said to numerous leaders of both this group and around the county, that with the folks here that hopefully will be elected in November, I think we all have a new vision of where we have to be from a traffic and pedestrian cycle safety perspective. You know, I like to think that we're going to bring some new initiatives to the county. Every initiative that we can talk about and you know, brainstorm about, you know, there's always a reaction to an action. So I would hope that this group, this forum, these professionals here, we can all have a cooperative conversation about what works best for Hudson County. You know, we were ventured into this Vision Zero program from Hudson. I know there's numerous cities around the state and in Hudson that have had this Vision Zero program already in place and are moving forward. But I'm happy to say with the commissioners and the administration that we're embarking on a county-wide Vision Zero program. This is something that is a very important issue to myself as a future administrator with the county, and I know from the collection of conversations we have with the commissioners, theirs as well. We've put together a collection of folks that we're hoping to announce in the next couple of weeks as for a Vision Zero task force. And that task force is going to encompass the professionals, some of which will be at this table here, and the community. It's important for us not only to have the professional point of view as it relates to logistics and if we can do it, if we can't, but it's also extremely important that we have your input and that we have collectively from the tip of Bayonne to the top of North Bergen, that collective input from those elected officials as well as from the community. So this for us, for me, is a listening session. I think that I'll let Tom and Byron speak to some of the, I think, progress that we've made very short in the short term as far as some of the new vision, I'll say, within the county. One thing I could say with Bill and Yraida and our engineering department, and I'll let the professionals talk a little bit more, you know, the bike lane extension, I'll call it, from Bergen Avenue towards pretty close to Bavonia Avenue is going to be done. You know, I like to think that that's a new initiative that this new administration moving forward collectively listens to the constituents and says, hey, you know, that makes sense. You know, we have some further studies that are going on, whether it be the 14th Street Viaduct in going down to Hoboken from Jersey City, Patterson Plank Road up to, you know, up Manhattan to Union City. I've spoken to all three mayors, Mayor Fulop, Mayor Bala, and Mayor Stack, and collectively we want to put something together as a team that's going to make sense for that particular area. Again, a new vision that we hope moving slowly, and I think that's a key for us, or for me anyway, is that we have to, moving slowly does not mean dragging our feet. I think moving slowly, in my interpretation, means moving smart. And if we move smart and that means slow, well then progress incrementally comes along. We're not going to, you know, go from 0 to 100 in 1 week or 1 month. So from my perspective, as hopefully a future county executive, I'm here to work with the commissioners for the improvements and the 0 deaths for Hudson County. You know, that'll be discussed more with the Vision Zero when a Vision Zero task force is announced. But, you know, we collectively can have a vision of where we can be when we can get to 0 deaths in Hudson County. You know, what that year could possibly be as we collectively move forward. So I'm here to help. I'm here to work with the commissioners. I'm here to work with the community. And the community speaks volumes, and, you know, I think Bill and Yraida and myself know how important it is for the input from the folks on the other side of this table. So thank you for allowing me to speak. I'm going to stick around for a while, and part of the benefits and part of the struggles of being a countywide potential elected office is you cover from the tip of Bayonne to the tip of North Bergen. And I'll be going up to Weehawken tonight to speak to a community, and I would imagine some of the same issues may be spoken about in the same concept. So I'm not running out on the meeting. I'll be here, but I do want to tell you that we're here to work. So thank you.
So Tom, would you like to just go first and give an update
Sure.
on the issues related at the last meeting?
I'll go through the notes that I took from the meeting we had in March and just let you know where, what we have and have done and may have planned. And again, these are the notes I took. Other folks may have other questions they had that maybe I didn't write down, and we can address those later. But for my notes, the first thing I had was looking at narrowing the lanes on JFK Boulevard. And I went back and confirmed, and all of our paving projects on JFK and other streets, we paint an edge line. The edge line creates an 11-foot lane before the parking lane. The 11-foot lane is what we need to have because of the trucks and buses that travel on the boulevard. So we do it on all our paving projects. So if you drive up and down the boulevard, you'll see that. Extending the bike lane into Journal Square, which was something we sketched up, and we're going to add that to our project at the end when we're extending the bike lane on Bergen Avenue, crossing SIP to the boulevard, and we're going to extend it another. The TPA was kind enough to allow us to include a Jersey City street in our project, so we'll extend it there, and then people can offload right by Journal Square. So that'll be done when we do the striping on the road. More buses on JFK. I'm not going to answer that question. A dedicated bus lane. That's been a big topic of conversation. I took another look at the bus rapid transit study. One of the options they examined was that at least in my reading, it was not one of the recommendations. One of the major recommendations was prioritizing the traffic signals. So as part of the Vision Zero plan that we're going to do, we certainly will look at that. And I know Transit is doing some work to re-examine their bus stops up and down the corridor. So that may tie in. I actually had a meeting the other day with a company, and Transit was on the call, where they've got a system that is in the buses and will prioritize the signals during rush hour, that if a bus is behind schedule, it'll automatically help with the signals. So it'll give more green time to the boulevard. What it will do is it'll take time away from the cross streets, but it'll help get the bus back on time. And from what I understand, that's in real time. So that's something I met the other day with some folks at TPA and Transit that may be an upcoming technology. Enforcement, again, that's a police issue. Adding refuge islands. We do that where we can. We're upgrading them on JFK and Journal Square. So where we can, where we have the room, we certainly do to give, especially on those wide streets, to give people an area to stage if they can't make it all the way across. That's mostly for the elderly and the handicapped. A road diet. Every time we do a road safety project with the TPA, we look at a road diet. The DOT guidelines are 20,000 vehicles in that range. Our traffic is well over that, so the road diets just aren't warranted per the DOT standards. But we always look at them every time we come to one of our public meetings. We talk about it. Just hasn't been able to work for us just yet. We actually are looking at some and we looked at it in Harrison too. Same thing with the traffic in Harrison. It doesn't quite work. Asking for data on the effect of the safety improvements we just did. That's part of what we're going to do. What we use accident reports that we get from the state. It's a 2 to 3 year process because those records are a couple years behind. So once the database catches up, we will analyze accidents and the safety improvements on the boulevard. So it's a couple years down the road, but that is definitely something we're going to do. There was a talk about a left-hand turn lane at Duncan because it blocks traffic. We actually, several years ago, before we did the safety improvements, we were asked to install the left turn arrow, which we did, which helped. So in order to do that, we just, to add that now, we just added bump outs, we added a lot of things there. We'd have to redesign the whole intersection. And that job is not closed out yet, so we can't make any changes to that now. So once all those changes are done, we can look at that again and see if it's warranted. We can do some, oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Sure. Absolutely.
Thank you, Emmanuel.
So,
I don't know if I have either.
as I said, we can study the intersection again and see if it's warranted. But again, we can't do any changes until the project is closed because it's federal money. There was a request for a crosswalk at St. Paul's. There's 3 crosswalks there now. We've analyzed it, and we think we can do that. We're going to meet with the contractor shortly. We're going to add 2 new handicap ramps and a crosswalk and move some of the striping. So we should be able to do that so that people can cross JFK on the north side of the intersection. We're also going to pass an ordinance to make all right turn on reds prohibited. That's part of what we have to do there.
Hey, Tom.
Can't hardly hear you.
Hear that well.
What did you just state?
Yeah, that's it.
There was a question about adding a median to JFK, which, we do where we can. There's one through the Journal Square. There are some spaces where we're improving those, but again, anytime you add a median, you narrow the road, there's the potential loss from parking. There was a question about a raised crosswalk at SIP. I know Commissioner O'Day has been an advocate of that, but in our experience, they're not allowed with traffic over 3,000 vehicles per day, so the DOT doesn't allow them. I know the commissioners passed a resolution encouraging DOT to revisit that. One of the things that was asked for us was JFK from Communipaw South. There's issues with visibility at the intersections. So what we did, we had just done a don't block the box, and we daylighted a couple of the corners at Oxford. So we continued that program, and I talked to the road department, and they told me they're about 80 to 90% complete of that work. There was a couple spots where cars were parked, they couldn't do the striping. So hopefully in the next couple of weeks, that'll all be done from Communipaw all the way down to the city line. There was a question on the protected bike lane that from Pavonia to St. Paul's. The question was, what was the only 30% could be protected. We looked at it again. In our mind, in order to protect the bikers on there, you would need a barrier. So between driveways, bus stops, hydrants, and other restrictions, we can only protect 30% of the bike lane. So we felt it wasn't appropriate there. And I know we moved that concept without a bike lane off to the next phase. Somebody made a suggestion of what's called centerline hardening, which is a rubber bumper stop that helps sharpen people's turns, let's say, because some people cut the left turn short. I had a meeting the other day in Bayonne, and we're going to look into that, some intersections to help people from cutting across. I know that on West Side Avenue, I know Jersey City's got something to prevent that kind of a thing. And we'll look into that for some of our intersections, especially where people are cutting the corner on their left-hand turns. So those are my notes from the meeting and the things that we've been able to do. I'm sure more questions will come up later. So.
Byron, do you want to go, or do you want to have the folks from Transit and?
Yeah, folks. Yeah, so I wasn't present at the last meeting, but some of the initiatives that the county administration and specifically the Division of Planning and the Department of Planning and Business Opportunity, rather, is working on is the Vision Zero initiative, as Craig had mentioned before, and we've provided some public education campaign pamphlets, flyers, brochures for more information about that and how the public could be part or will be part of that process in the upcoming months. So again, I'll save my comments for whatever questions may arise in the future.
Yeah, hi. So a couple things. First, I know there's tremendous interest about bus priority and bus rapid transit lanes. I just want to say that transit would enthusiastically support that, and we look forward to any discussions with our partners in the city and the county on that, because any time you separate bus traffic from regular traffic, it's quicker, it's a better experience for our customers, the riders, and it's safer to boot. Right? So there's a lot of work that has to be done. Your elected officials have a lot of things to consider there. You know, space on the boulevard and elsewhere is at a premium and is very valuable to different people in different groups, but we will very much look forward to getting involved in that discussion. It's something we think could be very, very valuable for all the riders and customers. The other thing I want to mention tonight is we have been adding a great deal of service. Well, before I do that, Commissioner O'Day had raised a question the other night. We have sufficient, if we get to the point, if and when we get to the point there are bus-only lanes or bus rapid transit lanes during commuter peak hours, for instance, we have sufficient buses to handle the demand. In fact, enough buses that the frequency would be very, very good. We've been adding trips because of the growing demand in the city to the 119, the 10. We just this month added 29 additional trips to the number 10, which is Bayonne to Jersey City. We added 15 additional weekday trips to the 119, which is Bayonne, Jersey City, New York. The 123, which is Jersey City, Union City, New York, we added 7 additional trips. 125, Jersey City, Journal Square, New York, 11 trips. So we are keeping up in part because we're adding the extended buses, which have that like accordion in the middle. They have a lot more capacity. They're harder to drive, especially in the urban areas, but they have like 70% more capacity, and they really make a difference. So where we get those in, bus is prioritizing them for Hudson and other areas like Hudson, like Patterson and Trenton and so on. The county engineer also mentioned the fact that we have a program to review and redesign bus routes throughout the state. It's called New Bus. We started in Newark a couple years ago. We're almost finished with that. We've got a study going on now for Camden and the surrounding counties, and Hudson County's next. That's the good news. New Bus Hudson will get started late this year, late fall, early winter. It's about a 2-year process. They look at everything from the ground up. What's the demand now? What's the demand going to be in the future, given the development patterns? How can we optimize the routes to pick up the most people with the most frequency with the least delays? And we come up with the bus folks come up with some really good stuff on that. So as that moves forward, we'll be working with our stakeholders. There's a robust public outreach and comment portion to that, so we can get your input, which is extremely important to help us realize what priorities there are for service. And this hasn't been done since the days when public service ran the buses, 60, 70 years ago. A lot of the routes in the state have never changed. And in some places that's appropriate because it's still those heavily used stops. But in a lot of other places, things have changed dramatically over the years. In Jersey City, for instance, in many, many neighborhoods. So we've got a lot going on, and we look forward to working with our stakeholders and you out there in the advocacy community and the public and the customer community as we move forward.
We have a representative from Path for the Port Authority. And I guess I just wanted to recognize, again, Commissioner Bob Basselis from North Bergen. Bob, if you want to say anything, Bob? Is there anything you'd like to say, or? We certainly appreciate you traveling all the way down here, because it shows how important you recognize the issues. And we have from the great city of Bayonne, Mayor Jimmy Davis. Mayor. Anything you'd like to say before we open it to the public?
Start fixing.
Jimmy, they got a mic.
To start fixing our problems. There are things we need to do in the state. I got my driver's license in 1980. You could only move on a green light. Somewhere along the line, we need to go back to no more right on red. This is something that, we could stand here and we could try and make bike lanes and we can make bus lanes. But the problem we have is the way people drive today. In Bayonne, you could go one block. You go from 3rd Street to 4th Street. You got a stop sign at 3rd Street, you got a stop sign at 4th Street. But for some reason, everybody has to do 40 miles an hour to get to 4th Street. Just to stop. And then get to 5th Street, same thing. And you can't put speed bumps all over the place, because then you got to worry about fire engines being able to get to a fire and maybe save someone's life in the middle of the night, or an ambulance if someone is having a heart attack or stroke. Time is of the essence. So it's all about enforcement, and it's about common sense approach to driving. And we need your help to start talking and using your voice to start changing things in Trenton. When I was a police officer and they made right on reds, I thought it was dumb back then. And I still think it's a dumb idea. You move on a green light, plain and simple. And we need to start working together to make this. Otherwise, we're doing a disservice to you. But I need your help, they need your help. And that's why I'm here today, so thank you.
So at this point, we would just open it up to public comments and questions. I would respectfully ask that give everyone at least one opportunity, as opposed to somebody doing 3 or 4 opportunities before everyone who wanted to say or ask a question gets the first opportunity. I'll defer to the gentleman in the back with the mic as people just raise their hands. And if you could identify either yourself or if you're from an organization or a town, would be helpful.
Yeah, sure. So I'm Corey Hannigan, the Active Transportation Manager at Tri-State Transportation Campaign. We're a regional transportation advocacy org dedicated to improving transit, meeting our climate goals, ending traffic deaths, and making transportation equitable. So first I want to congratulate Mr. Guy on his commitment to Vision Zero and carrying that through to the county. We're thrilled to see the extension of the bike lane to the path and the commitment in general. Tri-State's part of the NJ Vision Zero Alliance, and we're working on a state level Target Zero Commission bill that's actually going to be voted on the Assembly on Friday. So I urge people to take a look and call your senators and assemblymen us in support. So, thank you.
Do you have a bill number?
Yeah.
Do you have a bill number for that?
Yes, it's Assembly Bill A4296.
A4296.
So our organization, obviously transit is the lifeblood of our region. It's extremely important, and we were instrumental in the implementation of the exclusive bus lane in the Lincoln Tunnel. That single lane moves around 20,000 passengers per hour, which would take around 12 highway lanes to move the same number of people by car. At the same time, Journal Square Pass Station is served by 7 NJ Transit routes, and as Mr. Wyckoff explained, they're going to be increasing service frequency for the 3rd time this year alone. And so bus lanes really would allow these buses to move through their routes faster and therefore increase frequency with no additional operating cost. So like I said, we're thrilled to hear about the extension of the protected bike lane and the transit signal prioritization. We really do appreciate that you were listening. These will make travel much safer for thousands of people trying to access the transportation center. That said, NJTPA has recommended bus lanes in multiple studies. And so my question is, will these recommendations be implemented anywhere on the corridor? And are exclusive bus lanes being planned or considered on any other similar congested or high-risk corridors?
Anybody in particular? That
Just
question?
a general question.
Yeah, it's a question to the county in particular, Mr. Malavasi or maybe Mr. Guy.
So, thank you, and thank you for the acknowledgement that Hudson County has embraced, the Vision Zero program. As far as the requests that you've just spoken about, and part of this being a listening session, I believe this task force that will be coming, to your neighborhood soon, that is going to be some of the tasks that we're going to ask the task force to evaluate the requests and the information that we get from New Jersey Transit, that we get from Port Authority, that we get from our engineers, that we get from you folks, and put all that information together. I don't want to sound like a governmental red tape person, but I think a good study of all the recommendations that are coming from the folks and the professionals that deal with it, the Vision Zero Task Force will be empowered as an extension of the elected officials to make those recommendations, to listen to the professionals. So, the quicker we get that Vision Task Force up and running, the quicker we can come back to this group and say, hey, we're evaluating X, we're evaluating Y. I don't perceive this agenda to being a long, drawn-out governmental process, and we all know how that is. Government sometimes is its own worst enemy, but again, listening to the professionals and listening to the community, we can come back to the folks here with a solid professional answer. We may not have all the right answers. We may not have all the answers that answer 100% of all the requests, but I hope when, as we move forward in the process, we're going to collectively come to a fair conclusion that makes everybody happy.
Tom, you want to have anything to add?
No, not other than, we'll look at all those options. We'll have, with the task force, we'll have professionals looking at it and making recommendations. If we can fit all this, there's a lot being requested in a limited footprint. So we'll try and get as much as we can, subject to our professionals' determinations of what we can and can't fit.
So next in the front. Who'll bring you a mic, Steve?
I'll stand by the mayor. Right. I'm learning from Mayor Davis. So 2 questions. One to you, Chief of Staff Craig, so there in Jersey City has been talk about bike lanes for Summit Avenue and for Baldwin. Now Summit goes from Union City, from the city line at Union City down to Communiport. Baldwin goes similarly from the city line at Union City, and it blends into Summit Avenue down by the old medical center at Clifton Place. So to what extent, or have you been talking with city officials about bike lanes and how to maximize efficiencies in conjunction with Kenny Boulevard? The other question I have is for you, John. My wife and I have been working with Assemblyman McCurgy. We've reached out to New Jersey Transit ad nauseum. About what? About a walkway. Now, pedestrians are also important in this equation because at the intersection of 139, there's a New Jersey Transit-owned property, 4 parcels, 303 3109 up to 3129. That's abandoned. It's been abandoned. But that sidewalk is horrific. I could tell you, my neighbors, we get, when I'm going to work, they tell me that they try to walk strollers over it. It's very dangerous. And Assemblyman McCurdy, hopefully, well, soon to be state senator, is saying is that we keep hitting bureaucratic red tape. What can your office do to assure the people of Jersey City that we can just patch up this sidewalk and let people walk safely? Thank you.
So why don't we answer that question first, the folks from Transit?
Yes, what street was that again? I'm somewhat familiar with some of the issues down there that have come across my desk.
It's on Kennedy Boulevard at the intersection of State Highway 139. The bus is owned by New Jersey Transit between St. Paul's Avenue and Elm Street. I can give you the block and lot number after the meeting.
All right, I'll give you my card. I'm somewhat familiar with that.
So
With
one
that
with all
piece
the
of
signs
property
on
that
it,
you're
was that the
talking
one?
about.
It had a lot of signs on it?
And it's a don't walk here.
Oh, okay. I don't know if anyone wants to answer the question about the conversations with the city about Summit Avenue and Baldwin Avenue.
Yes, we all know our great planning director, Francesca Yraida, and if she hasn't said it, Francesca is out on maternity leave. She had a beautiful baby girl not too long ago, and with Francesca, you know, we all know that she's a bowl of happiness. But I have to tell you, folks, she's been on the phone with me, and she's been sending me emails, and she's been sending me texts about the Vision Zero program. The one thing I will tell Steve, to come back to your question, is Francesca is engaged. Obviously, she's on leave now. She is engaged with the folks from Jersey City, her colleagues from Jersey City, to see how us, the county, and the city can work and coordinate better together. Now, if that means extension of some bike lanes on Summit or Baldwin, obviously that will be a municipal issue. But the county is engaged with conversations with Jersey City.
And just to add to that a little bit, they got $8 million for that project and funding from the TPA. We got $25 million for that same stretch of JFK. So we've been in conversations with Jersey City about coordinating all that work. So with planning and with Jersey City, we'll come up with a solution that makes the most sense for both of us.
Anyone else? Next. Got one there, and one there. Go ahead.
Yes? Okay, sorry. My name is Karin Van Oppen. I am a mother of a 14-year-old. And for a couple of months now, we've been doing bike bus in Jersey City. I see we have some fans here. Do all of you know about what that means? It's not an actual bus. I'm sorry, transportation people. It's like the driver is just the first person that leads the group of children, and we're going to the school, and we have marshals from Bike JC who go with us, and somebody's in the back. We're trying to keep it all really safe. And even though we're in a group, parents are really reluctant to let their kids go with us. I mean, some come along, and I understand that, because there is a lot of bike paths, but there's also a lot of in between where there's a big issues. That's the reason I'm here, because, for example, the boulevard is one of those, like the minute people hear, oh, we have to cross that, it's almost like their mind goes into crazy thinking like this. We will never be able to do this. And my actual question would be is, apart from each doing their own thing, does the city and the county and everybody ever sit together and say, hey, how can we, I'm going to give you an example. I wrote this morning to Lincoln Park West, because I like to bird watch. I'm that age. And you go on the bike path up to the park, but then there's this whole nothingness to get into the park. And then you think, okay, let's go straight. Maybe it's going to be easier, at the end where you have that, whatever they do where they're running. But there isn't even a spot to cross. So I'm like, do these people talk? Because they each have really good ideas, but there is no connection. So that would be one of the things that I would like for you to see, if that's possible, to sit together and say, hey, how can we make this better with these seem to be like small problems to me, like easy solutions. Maybe I'm seeing this wrong, maybe it's very difficult for you all to talk, but if anything, I'm willing to come over and say, this is where we've seen issues, because since we've been cycling so much, we do see where the problems are, especially, with the kids going to the school and everything. I really appreciate you all being here, because that's a first to me, that I've been able to talk about all this to so many people involved in all of this. To the lady who's involved with Pat, I think you made tremendous efforts. I would just look at weekend service. That is something that's still and I use the buses as well, and I really like them. I did not like the one this morning who almost knocked me off my bike. I was on JFK coming back from Lincoln Park, going to Montgomery, where you don't have a nice bike path. But the street makes, from going to straight, goes a little bit to the side. Makes a little bit of a bend. And I guess for a long bus, that means they don't really know what's going on in the back. And I was ahead of them at first, but they're doing some road works on Duncan, so it became really difficult. And I hadn't realized in what kind of a predicament I had been. It was that close that a lady on the side was doing that whole scream thing, from the picture. So it's JFK. I'm so happy you all are sitting here together trying to make it better, because it's really necessary. Thank you. I'm sorry I made it so long.
So I just wanted to mention and recognize, I believe that for the 5th year in a row, you've been recognized as a Parent of the Year by the Jersey City Board of Education for what you spoke about and other things. So give you a round of applause. Right over there, that one with the white shirt, right?
They need to raise their hand.
Oh, I think.
I'm a resident of the Journal Square area, and I would like to know what the county is doing to improve the safety for pedestrians walking along the county boulevard. In addition, I would also like to know what Port Authority is doing to improve the safety for the pedestrians walking across the plaza there at the path station. All right, I continue to see bikes zooming by, and you're constantly turning your head. It's like Indianapolis. What is the county and the city doing about that? Are we waiting for somebody to get hit, killed? Is this what has to happen? Or are we going to just keep talking about bike lanes for years and years and years? How many years are we going to talk about bike lanes? How about the safety of the pedestrian walking along county roads? Does anybody have an answer?
So we just finished a safety project on JFK from Communipaw to SIP. The next phase is from SIP to Bergen, which will include upgraded crosswalks, intersections, some bump outs, traffic signal upgrades up to where Bergen Avenue comes in. So that project, we took bids a few months ago. We're waiting on DOT to approve it. As soon as they approve it, we will award the contract, probably start. I'm hoping we get started sometime by the late summer. It's about a 1.5-year project, but you'll see all new crosswalks, bump outs, better signals, better lighting. We're redoing all the lighting through there. So it'll definitely increase the safety up to the bridge, the Columbus Bridge. The next phase, which is a few years away, will continue from Pavonia up to St. Paul's Avenue. So we are moving our way up JFK, and the big focus on that is pedestrian safety. And that's the main part of what we're doing. And the project we're about to do is about a $6 million project. We just finished a $6 million project, and then the next phase would be about $8 million. So all money we've gotten from the feds. It takes a while. The federal process is long, but it's money that we think is well spent improving the pedestrian and vehicular safety too.
Well, I have yet to see any police officer stop any of these bike riders, the mostly delivery guys, zooming by. So where is the police presence to get after these bikes that are zooming along the boulevard?
That to Councilman Bogiano. We'll forward that to Councilman Bogiano, as you know, who's retired from the Jersey City Police Department, to reach out to someone from the police department. Certainly at the next meeting, we can have somebody from JCPD in attendance. There was someone over here first. There was somebody over there first and then over here.
My name is Gregory Waltman. I work at Rutgers Voorhees Transportation Center, and I am a resident of the Heights. I have, on multiple occasions, as a cyclist in Jersey City, been almost hit and or assaulted. I actually have been assaulted once by drivers. But my number one concern is that it does not appear that New Jersey Transit bus operators, Jersey City police officers, or emergency vehicles, not in emergency action, just in general, understand the 2021 passed safe passing law. And I would like to know if there has been any training, any information sharing with these groups, or any enforcement within these organizations to ensure that they understand the law as it is written and that they are required to abide by.
Yeah, thanks, Greg. I don't know specifically, but what I can tell you in general, and then what I'll do is we'll pass this on to Bus tomorrow morning. They have a compliance unit that trains drivers, not only new drivers, but existing operators, regularly on changes in the law, on existing law, on safety. I'm familiar in general with the 2021 Act. So we'll check into that, and if you give us your contact info, we'll get back to you.
Just on the, you had mentioned the training. Hudson County now has a police professional training academy, and I'll double check tomorrow, but looking at the curriculum, year after year, I know we have an extensive traffic safety program within Title 39 that is where we educate the police officers at their during their training. Now, if there's, okay, so Pam is here, so she could speak to that.
We do have, oh, Jesus Christ. I might kill you with my voice, let alone the car. Jesus, sorry about that. So just so you know, we do train the officers in Title 39. We do go over distracted and impaired driving, pedestrian safety, bike safety. We do all of that with the police officers. I myself do distracted and impaired driving because I am one of the instructors at the Hudson County Police Academy, and I do go to all the other police academies around the state of New Jersey. So that for sure is the truth. Craig Guy is telling the truth. We do tell the police officers about how to pull over drivers, pull over bicyclists that are running red lights, which me and Mayor Davis here saw a couple doing that on the way on here. So just to reassure you, our police officers from everywhere that go to Hudson County, and they come from all over New Jersey. They are trained on this. So I'm sorry for interrupting,
No.
but you said something, and
It's been
instructor
helpful.
that's here.
Thank you.
So, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, I just want to take a quick moment because I'm one of the organizers and I forgot to make our thank yous to Principal Wingard and Mr. Marshall, who granted us the use of this space. Mateo and Dan, and help me out, Stephen, who helped us with the sound. Thank you. And our hosts, thank you, Commissioners O'Day and Aponte-Lipski, the Chief of Staff, thank you for being here, Craig Guy, our Chief of the Division of Planning for the county, Byron Nicholas. I'm sorry, I was supposed to do this at the beginning. Morgan Keane, Chief of Staff at PATH. Tom Malavasi, County Engineer. Paul Wyckoff, and I'm sorry I don't have your title, but NJ Transit, and John Del Colle, who is Senior Director, Legislative Affairs, NJ Transit. And also, one of our panelists, Byron Nicholas, pointed me toward an essential resource which we brought here today is at the back table. It's called Promising Practices for Meaningful Public Involvement in Transportation Decision-Making. And so I really just want to take a moment to thank all of you. I want to thank the public. Thank you for being here and for being involved in transportation decision-making. We appreciate it.
You had 1, 2, 3 speakers here, and then Tommy Zuper over there. We'll do the east side first, and then we'll do this side. You had four hands over here. Colin, you figure out which ones go in order, and then after those 4, you got 3 over here.
Hello. First of all, John and Paul, I want to thank New Jersey Transit for their commitment to increasing bus service in the JFK Boulevard corridor, and not just during peak hours, but the commitment to increasing off-peak, evening, weekend service. We're a 24/7 city. We need 24/7 transit service. Doubling the 119 frequency on weekends has been a godsend for many here, I think, in particular, and we look forward to see continued improvements in that direction. My question's for Morgan from PATH. We've seen PATH maintain a strong commitment to rush hour service. You mentioned the 9-car trains and the increased frequencies that the CBTC signaling has allowed. But over the past several years, we've seen a steady deterioration of the quality of midday, evening, and weekend service on PATH. Midday, Journal Square, 33rd service is now only every 12 minutes. It used to be every 10. Weekend service, similar, has been impacted. I think the 20-minute headways on the World Trade Center Newark line has made PATH almost unusable on weekends. I'll be honest on that line. I can't rely on it, especially because there's supposedly a printed schedule, but trains don't seem to adhere to that. I understand PATH does a lot of its maintenance on evenings and weekends. But PATH has always had maintenance needs, and I think we've seen a steady decline in the maintenance productivity, and we've seen less work done with longer outages. Does PATH have a commitment to tightening up that maintenance productivity so we can restore our midday, evening, and weekend headways to the service we deserve?
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Elvin. I live in Jersey City Heights. First, I want to congratulate the panel, the host, Bill O'Day, Commissioner, and Lipski for putting this together, listen to the community and getting the feedback. That's very important to solve these issues. I heard a lot of good things, especially talking about stopping people to making left turn and red lights. I think that can save a lot of people. And I understand that we need to gather our leadership throughout the county to pass those ordinances and make sure that it happens. But I'm the type of person that I like to see changes, small steps to the right decisions so we can ensure that we can save as many pedestrians in our family in case they are on the street. Something that I've been hearing is implementation. What is the police officers when you see people speeding in Kennedy Boulevard? This is something that can be done right now. I understand that training is being provided, but I really don't see a lot of police officers on Kennedy Boulevard stopping people that are speeding left and right, going and coming back. Another thing, I understand that the county have funding recently to repair a lot of the county roads. I saw it in Patterson Plant Road, they fixed the whole county there. With the increase of people living in the county, especially in Jersey City, are you considering building public parking? If we're gonna be using part of those lanes for city bikes or bikes that are gonna be doing commuting, are we gonna be using some of the funding that we're getting to build public parking? Those are my questions. Thank you.
So yeah, maybe I could address the latter part of your question in regards to parking. So unfortunately, the county doesn't have jurisdiction over parking. That's more on a municipal level. But you're right, where we've received millions of dollars in federal funds, specifically federal funds, to conduct road safety audits on Patterson Plank Road, to conduct local safety programs along JFK Boulevard itself. And as Tom Malavasi had mentioned before, if anything, most of those improvements are geared towards pedestrians. And then, as we're all talking about now, we're looking to incorporate micro-mobility, so other modes of active transportation to be included in these projects. For federal funds, especially federal funding at this point, they're looking at an equitable approach. So equitably through demographics and equity through, again, different modes of transportation. So, I would say I would hope and think, especially considering this panel right now with the commissioners, Craig, Tom, we're all committed to improve safety for pedestrians and all modes of transportation.
Hello.
One, two, and then
Good
Tom.
evening, everyone. Thank you so much, everyone who made this community meeting possible, including everyone who came out today. I would name everyone, but I want to be respectful of everyone's time. My name is Stephanie Martinez. I go by Steph, she, they, and I'm coming from North Bergen. I wanted to bring up that New Jersey is unfortunately bracing for another round of unhealthy air and air quality, and Hudson County will be under an air quality alert again. It's only been 3 weeks since we saw the orange skies. It's not normal. I can't help but relive that anxiety and fear I had standing outside the polls on June 6th, shouting that we need safer streets, we need clean air, and we need elected officials to take climate change seriously. So my question is, has the board, the professionals, centered climate into these conversations? And an example, bringing in like environmental engineers, architects to these conversations. And Mr. Guy, you mentioned that we're moving slowly, and slowly is smart. I totally agree. Slow and steady wins the race. But climate change is here, and transportation is the #1 source of carbon emissions. So what are the commitments? What commitments is the county doing to significantly reduce our car dependency and reduce carbon emissions to have clean air that we all deserve? And please don't say electric vehicles.
From our side, we received 2 grants from the NJDOT. It's called the CMAQ program. It's one of the goals is air quality improvements. Hoboken also applied for a grant. They got it. So we are working with them to add technology to 55 of our intersections and a few of theirs that will give us real-time data and enable us to bring information back to our office that we can make real-time changes. In order to get this grant, we had to go to, I think it was an EPA website, and plug in some numbers. And what what it does, it optimizes the ability for traffic to flow, which cuts down on emissions. So there are goals with that. So that's how we were able to get the money. The other thing that comes into play, which ties into the conversation tonight, is as we add technology and get real-time data, that's stuff that we can then use as part of the conversation I had the other day with transit, where we can have some optimization of their system. So what this system can help do is increase vehicular traffic flow, make it better, reduce emissions, and then if we could tie that with the transit work, reduce, I'm sure, emissions on their side too. And I won't say electric vehicles.
So I had one other gentleman right there, okay, and then this side.
Guys, my name is Kevin Bing. I'm a safety advocate here in Jersey City. So I actually wanted to address point number 2 about Vision Zero on the board. The system, not individual actors, is responsible for safety. And with due respect to the mayor, you can't just be blaming individual drivers or cyclists or pedestrians. We all know they make mistakes. Bus drivers make mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. People do distracted driving. But I think the key here and the key to Vision Zero is having a system that can let people get around without risking their lives. And if we're not blaming the individual askers and we're talking about the system, we're talking about the folks up at the dais, right? Our elected leadership, our professional leadership. And so my question to you is, how, inevitably, you're elected leaders, congratulations in the primary, but my question is how are you going to handle public pushback? If we can get a room together of this many people that are 100% opposed to this issue, are we going to change direction? So how are you going to handle the pushback? You alluded to it, Mr. Guy. There's always an equal and opposite reaction to things. How are you going to handle that pushback? And do you individually feel personally responsible for the safety of people who want to get around on our county streets?
You know, thank you for the question. You know, several of the folks up here are elected by thousands of people, you know, throughout Hudson County. So, you know, we represent thousands of folks from one end of the county to another. You know, we work for the folks, for all the folks in Hudson County. Now, I started my opening remarks by saying pedestrian, bicycle, vehicle, mass transit safety. We all feel personally responsible, and we all will, and I'm fairly consistent. I can speak for both the commissioners, Bill and Yraida. You know, we're responsible for implementing smart, safe measures throughout the county. Again, you know, there's a constituency out there that elected us, all right, that elected us to be responsible in our decision makings. So when you say will we react to folks that have an opposite opinion? Sure, we listen. That's what we're elected to do, to listen. In addition, we listen to everybody. And that's part of being an elected official, is to listen to all folks throughout the county. That's part of what we're going to do as far as this task force that we talked about. We're going to have inclusion. And part of the inclusion will be representatives of the community. So I'm happy to say from the executive branch of government, and I'll let both Bill and Yraida speak from the legislative piece, we'll listen to our constituents. And it's not a smoke-filled back room where these decisions are made. Quite frankly, they're made up front. They're made with the constituents' interaction and the professionals' interaction. So thanks for your question. We, myself, the elected officials, work for everybody in Hudson County.
So Kevin, I think that when people advocate, we do listen. And we listen in a reasonable way. We don't listen in a knee-jerk reaction way. So the reason we now have a planning grant is because advocates came and spoke to me and others and said, hey, there's an opportunity to apply for a grant. And it made sense. So it took a little pushing, but we got it, and we applied for it, and we received the grant. So that's the kind of way we can work together. The extension of a bike lane, as little as it may be, 200 feet from SIP to the entrance of the PATH train. Again, after the design was done and put out, we had some discussions, looked at it. It just made sense, right? To get from here to here, to extend the bike lane made sense. So I think that intelligent conversations and input tend to always result in good policy, good public policy. I think that to just say, whoever gets the most people in a room, that's the way the government should react, probably doesn't always make sense. But I would just cite those two recent examples of that. I think a policy to now take intersections and eliminate right turn on red, again, but it comes out of conversations, and I think meetings like this and ongoing conversations with advocates and others. Look, I one day it was like a light bulb went off. If you narrow the lane on a road, people go slower. Duh, you know what? I never really thought about that. But as soon as somebody told me that, it just made logical sense. I said, well, I'm in a lane this wide. I think I can go faster when I'm in a lane this wide. So I think that part of it is conversations, part of it is education, and part of it is having a certain level of mutual trust and respect, and understanding that people don't always get everything that they would like to see. But if we work together, I think we get to the goals that are outlined within that plan.
Bill? Bill?
I just want to our executive, sorry, to our colleagues, my Commissioner Mablevey and Chief of Staff, a great guy. I'm going to follow through. We are here because people want us here. If not, we would not be here. And as they say, we are working together, and we are doing this meeting because we are taking you into account, into consideration, and we want you to be part of this meeting. We want to hear you. We want to collaborate. We want to work with you. I mean, it's not maybe as fast as you want to, and not maybe the way you want to, but we are here and we are trying. And everybody that knows me know that I say, since I became a commissioner back in 2020, during the rough time of our life, when the world changed and went upside down, that I said to them, I don't lie because I cannot lie. And I bump into some of you and you want me to say something that I cannot say it because I'm not going to be able to do it. So that's what you have from us here, and I know it takes time, and sometimes it's little patience. You want it like this, and sometimes, unfortunately, it doesn't happen that way. But believe me, we are here to work for you because we're here because of you. Thank you.
I know we had Tom, one, 2, 3, and then 4 over on this side. Tom on the front, yes.
If you don't mind.
Can we just do those 4,
Sure.
and then we can do those, Colin? Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Tom Zupa, I'm president of the Journal Square Community Association. 2 questions. First is directed to Ms. Keane. Several officials recently came out in favor of the Marion Path Station, including Senator Menendez, Mayor Fulop, and County Executive Tom DeGise. If you can please comment on what PATH's position is on that, if PATH has one yet, and what the timeline is and feasibility of that. And for Mr. Del Colle, appreciate your comments earlier to Steve Lipski's point. In the winter, a lot of bus stops don't get cleared out at all. We go to our local officials and they hear, well, it's a transit issue, we can't get in touch with transit, but as sure as the day's coming up tomorrow, it's going to snow next winter, so we can start having a plan now for addressing the bus stops so that pedestrians don't have to go into the street, which causes a safety issue on 139, or residents, several of us who did it a couple of years ago, don't have to clean the bus terminals out for transit. We would appreciate that. Thank you.
That gentleman over there. then the gentleman all the way in the back, and then Rolando. Those are the four. 2, 3, 4.
Thanks for the
Just
question.
hold on one second before you answer the question. Craig has to excuse himself. I just wanted to say goodbye.
Thank you, and yes, I'm running to another meeting, but I take this meeting very seriously. I take the issue very seriously with our professionals here and the elected officials with Bill and Yraida. You know, again, we're here to work for you. We're here to work smart, and you know, I'm happy to have continuing, like Bill said, continuing educated, professional conversation so we can all get to a place where we feel comfortable. So thank you for having me here as a guest speaker, folks, and I look forward to future. So thank you.
This?
Good evening. I'm Joe Harkins.
Okay, Joe, just wait till they can answer the question. Hold on to the mic. You'll just let.
Thank you.
Commissioner, if I can, I
Go ahead,
want to
yeah,
answer Tom's, the second part of his question, bus stops and snow. Unfortunately, I do have an answer for you, which you may not, is not going to be entirely satisfactory to anybody. There are 19,000 bus stops throughout the state. Like the private bus companies, we succeeded, Public Service and others. We work with the municipalities to site bus stops. We work with the municipalities to provide bus shelters at places where we can. We do not maintain the shelters or shovel the snow, except on transit's own property, like at rail stations or at the Irvington bus terminals and so on. We just don't have the resources for that. Over the decades, there have been various proposals about creating some sort of special task force, workforce. Even, a lot of the counties have sheriffs, labor, where the prisoners go out and do labor. There have been talks about doing that, but as of this point, none of that's come to fruition, and no one in particular is responsible for clearing snow except the municipalities or the property owner on whose property the bus stop resides.
Joel, then you're next, and then Rolando, and then we're going to go to Facebook questions. Yes, Joe.
Thank you. My name is Joe Harkins. I live in Jersey City on Kennedy Boulevard at Duncan Avenue. I recently saw, I believe it was the most recent federal census that said something like 80% of the people who live in Jersey City were not born in Jersey City. Of course, we welcome you. And I say that from the perspective of those of you who attended my 90th birthday party know that I've been here a while. I've seen the changes in the city. On the other hand, I've also lived around the world for a lot before I came back again about 30 years ago. And I've seen how other cities around the world have dealt with some of the same problems. And I'd like to bring some of that thinking here and eventually plant the seed with an idea that I'd like you to think about. But first, I want to acknowledge that Mr. Walcott, is it? Wolkoff. He very correctly said that the land around Journal Square, speaking about the public right-of-way, is precious. It is very, very limited. It's one of the tightest spaces I've ever seen. We're not handling it very well. We're not making very good use of it. We're wasting an awful lot of it with cars. So the idea that I'd like to plant with Vision Zero as part of the plan is considering banning parking in the area around Journal Square. And by that I mean from Sip Avenue to Newark Avenue, from along the boulevard, and also extend that ban along Summit Avenue and Baldwin Avenue from Sip Avenue to Five Corners. I think that that would greatly improve the movement of public transportation through the area. I think it would greatly improve the safety and I think it would greatly improve the quality of life and air in the city. So I'm going to ask that you consider that as part of the Vision Zero, as something that maybe you're not going to get it done right away. But if you don't start now, you'll never get there. Thank you.
Gentleman all the way, gentleman in the back, who's got his hand up, and then Rolando, and then Colin will go to the other questions.
Thank you. Oh, hello. So, hi, everybody. My name is Fitz Restituyo. I'm actually the county committee member for C12, so this very area. So it's exciting to see everybody here, you know, talking about Vision Zero. And, you know, it's the first time I heard about it, and so it's great to see, you know, what the overall goal is. One thing I wanted to say, I'm part of the stats that the previous speaker, you know, alluded to. I wasn't born in Jersey City. I came, you know, from New York. I moved a few years ago and love Jersey City. But just wanted to acknowledge like what Mayor Davis said regarding, you know, red is green in New Jersey. That was a shocker to me. As a pedestrian, I almost got hit a few times because of that. And so it's great that that is being looked at least when, you know, we're talking about Vision Zero, because, you know, red should be red. But one comment that I just wanted to make was, as I was, you know, going around the community trying to get signatures to get on the ballot, and if you voted for me, thank you. So many people spoke about enforcement, and I know that folks have spoken about that in different ways. But if we cannot ban cars, as the previous speaker, you know, alluded to, for sure we should enforce double parking and like give people tickets. There are times when community members clap when they see enforcement happening, right in front of Capital One, all the way through the down Bergen to the supermarket. There's crazy double parking that happens there at all hours, including rush hour. And so it'd be great if that can be looked at and some enforcement actually take place, because that can also go a long way towards overall safety. Thank you.
And after that, Colin, you're up.
Good evening, everyone. Rolando Lavarro, thank you all for your time. I was a former city councilman for the city of Jersey City for about 10 years. And two things, very quickly, comments. I came here to express my support for bus lanes and for rapid bus transit. Sure. And then the second thing was just as I was on the inaugural Vision Zero Task Force for Jersey City, that was established many years ago. And one of the things talked about was also rapid bus transit at that time. And we had some bond funding that was dedicated for that study, but it was reallocated to the VIA service that's currently in Jersey City. And one of the reasons I supported that was that there was an opportunity there with the VIA, as part of the agreement with the city, was that they would provide the city with data about usage routes and usage of the people utilizing the service, so that we could be able to establish our own routes and possibly come up with a local citywide rapid bus transit and so forth around that. And so I know when you talked about new bus, Hudson, and as you look at other data to make decisions about Vision Zero or about expanding trips and other things like that and where to expand lines, I would just wanted to encourage you to look to, if you're not already talking to the city of Jersey City about that, ask them about that data for the VIA system. And I don't know if City Bike, if there's a similar agreement for that, but definitely for the VIA system, I'm pretty certain there was, that they were supposed to be able to provide access to the data so that we could understand kind of the usage patterns and how things were growing here in Jersey City. Thank you all for your time.
Okay.
So we have a Facebook Live watcher who asks a question. Kara Herboski asks, when will the county seriously reevaluate the use of JFK Boulevard for free public parking? BRT lanes are desperately needed and serve the public good and would improve mobility for thousands. Free parking does not.
So I mean, that is part of what's going to be studied under the Vision Zero plan. So I think Craig had mentioned that earlier, and it's always good to hear about Kara. Kara probably deserves credit. She was involved with the beginning of the community input for the first pedestrian area that's, believe it or not, it's how long things take to get done, just being completed from Communipaw-to-Sip. And many, many years ago, she advocated to create the bike and pedestrian lane to turn the Ring Road in Lincoln Park into one-way traffic. So, Kara, I do remember your input at the beginning of many of the initiatives that have been ongoing now. Do you have other questions? Or no? Okay.
Commissioner, I actually have
Go ahead, Colin. Sure.
I actually have some items. It's rare that we have all of these agencies here at the same time talking about the same thing. So I have a bit of a wish list that I want to kind of put in your heads. I'd love to see a bike connection to Secaucus Junction, the New Jersey Transit hub in Secaucus. It's virtually impossible to bike there right now. It's very unsafe. Every path getting there is treacherous. There is even talk of a greenway along Hackensack waterfront. It would be great if that connected to Secaucus Junction in some way, and there's land there that could make that possible. Also, buses coming standard with bike racks in the front. If every bus had a bike rack, that would be great. And you could even take those bikes with you to the train at Secaucus Junction or at Hoboken. Also, since Port Authority and the county share the JFK section right outside Journal Square, I'd love to see a biking connection north and south of Journal Square. Right now, there's really no clear way to get from Jersey City Heights south of Journal Square without having to go through Journal Square or Summit or Baldwin. But a lot of people would like to see, a lot of people work south or live south of Journal Square and work in the Heights and points north, but there's no clear corridor to get from one side of Journal Square to the other safely without a car. So I'd love to see those things happen. And so I'm glad you're taking notes. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Colin. So we have
Wait, just one addition to that point. So the 9-mile Essex Hudson Greenway that the DEP just purchased, that eastern terminus is at Van Sicklen, right around the area that he's talking about. And so we are going to see a lot more pedestrian and bicycle activity to and from those points between Path and the Greenway. And so I urge you really to consider that point. That's going to be deeply needed in the future in the region.
Thank you. And then people that haven't had a chance yet, there was a gentleman in the back with his hands up, and then the gentleman on the front who asked the Facebook question.
Hi, my name is Sebastian Moon. I look. Yep. You got it? Okay, great. I lived here for about 10 years. I have two questions. One, why is there no representative from the sheriff or JCPD here at all? More than half the questions have been about why they don't do anything. And second is for NJ Transit and Path, why do you think people only work 9 to 5? There's a lot more people that work way later into the night, and the lack of service means that people who get off at midnight don't get on a train or a bus until 12:45, don't get home until 1:30, and then they have to get up again at 8 a.m. to be in at work at 9 or 10.
To your first question, we worked with the advocate groups on putting together what the panel was. In hindsight, which is always 2020, we should have had someone from those agencies, and we'll certainly have them at the next meeting. And as the other question, I'll defer to Path.
Yeah, to that point, we do recognize, especially now, post-COVID, that work and travel patterns have changed dramatically. Morgan mentioned, and we've seen it too, our system is much busier on weekends now than it is on Mondays and Fridays, for instance. Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays are still pretty busy. Now, to your point, for decades, the prime ridership demand was peak hours, a little bit less at midday, and then less overnight. As that has shifted over the years, our planners look at that, and we always try and, I'm trying to see you as I talk, we always try and, we have to align our service with the demand as best we can, given the equipment that we have and the operators that we have and so on. But that's feedback that I'll take back to the planners to reemphasize with them. They are aware of the broadening of the workday and the travel patterns. The one place in the state, one kind of place in the state where we still see Monday through Friday very heavy usage, whatever the hour, is places like Jersey City, because they are so dense and they're perfect for transit.
All right, technical difficulties, I apologize. I'm asking as myself now. My name's Tyler Newcomb. I'm a Jersey City resident. I'm on the board of Safe Streets Jersey City and Bike JC. I don't own a car. I get around almost entirely in Jersey City by bike, and then when I travel a little bit further or when the weather's bad, I take public transit as well. My question has to do with multimodal trips. A lot of people in Jersey City, especially if they don't live close to a PATH station, are going to take bikes or scooters or e-bikes or other micromobility modes to get to the bus station, to get to the PATH, and then use those public transit modes to get into the city, for example, or get throughout the county, get into Manhattan. As a transit agency, I guess for NJ Transit and for PATH, what are you looking at to improve multimodal access? Are you considering changing restrictions on bikes, for example, like e-bikes as they become more common on the PATH system? Has NJ Transit looked at adding bus racks onto their buses? And then for the county folks, how are you looking at improving bike access and micromobility access to these transit hubs?
Yeah, that's something that we are constantly looking at, especially in recent years. When City Bike and the like first came into Hoboken a few years ago, our safety division was very worried about lithium-ion batteries. Then they got calmed down on that, and we started allowing them. And now you see, I think a lot of you probably saw the article, I guess, in the Times yesterday, with the big pile of bikes that have battery fires. So it's something we're constantly reviewing, especially in places like this, in Newark. Our headquarters is right outside Penn Station in Newark. I can't tell you the number of e-scooters and bikes that go by every day on the sidewalk, which makes them hazardous in themselves. But that is such a growing trend because it does allow people to get through our congested cities so much quicker that, it's going to be a big part of planning over the next few years.
I think from the county side, as we said, we've got a plan coming up with the Vision Zero. We're going to look at that. We got grants on JFK. We know Jersey City got a grant for Baldwin. So, out of that will fall some things of improving those types of transit to Journal Square.
Hello, my name is Larry McAuliffe. I'm a resident of Jersey City and a member of the Sierra Club. My concern is that looking at this JFK Boulevard bus lanes with protected cycle track, I do not see how pedestrians can safely cross here because there's way too much going on. And I think it would be helpful to have a protective place for them to be waiting in the center, unless you're going to have very long time frames at each intersection for people to cross. Because as you can see, you have 2 lanes of bicyclists, then a parking, then a bus, then 2 lanes of drivers, then another bus. And so, particularly for the elderly, this is going to be a very difficult situation if they have to jump out of the way or whatever. So I don't think that that has been totally thought through, and I would like to see, or I would just suggest that it'd be good to look at that again and see how the pedestrian crossings are made.
I'm Jim Vance. I live in Hoboken. And
Jim, hold on.
Yeah.
Please, sorry.
Yeah, my apologies. Real quickly, I just wanted to mention the concept design that you see on the screen is not from the county. This is, I believe it was community driven, and perhaps Emmanuel could talk more about it. But again, as we spoke about before, in regards to bus lanes on JFK Boulevard, this is very preliminary, and this is something that we would have to take a look at for further feasibility, preliminary engineering, et cetera. I don't want to speak for Tom, but again, we're still in the concept phase of conceptualizing a BRT on JFK Boulevard, all right? So I don't want you guys to think that this is what the county is producing at this time.
Yeah, I'm so sorry for the confusion. There are a lot of advocacy groups here tonight, and a lot of them formed a coalition called Hudson County Complete Streets. And this is just one idea that we had that we wanted to talk about. So this image is not actually from the county. This is something that is a conversation piece. So thank you, Byron, for explaining that.
And just to add real quickly, we're definitely listening to all the recommendations and suggestions that you do have. So again, I'm taking it in my head. We have a colleague of mine, Kevin Forts, from Hudson County Division of Planning as well, that's listening. So when we do get to that stage, we'll have that on the table as well, all right?
Jim.
Thank you. I'm Jim Vance. I live in Hoboken. I'm a member of the Hudson County Complete Streets on the board. One of the big issues I see here, and so does the county and everybody else, is a matter of money. Vision Zero is extremely important, but it's just part of what needs to be done, and funding for it is going to be difficult. Hudson County is, as was said earlier, very, very dense. And there are an awful lot of people that live here who don't own cars for a variety of reasons. One of them is if you own one, many people who are struggling their way up the ladder can't afford to do anything but feed the car. So we have an obligation to help move that forward, and we need money. We have JFK Boulevard running north-south along the spine, and we have an opportunity to run transit there and to feed it from the east and the west. A huge number of people would benefit from it. Of course, the question is money. And for some reason, us old white guys who are still think we're running this show have decided that we need to impose a solution that was created when I was not even a teenager yet, or maybe a teenager, and that is called the New Jersey Turnpike. And all of us know the boondoggle of continuing 70 years later of my generation, imposing on everybody else that's coming up behind me the concept of 10-point-some billion dollars to do what we did way back when. No wonder America is becoming an empire in decline. What I'm getting at is, all of you folks up here, I'd like you to look at what could we do in Hudson County regarding transportation for everybody with that kind of money, or a portion of that kind of money. And it should be in part of your planning, and the political beings here should go after it, and I urge you to include it. Plan Vision Zero as if you had that pot of money, and the people of Hudson County will thank you for generations. Thank you.
Mr. Vance, just, and I don't believe it was mentioned, unless I missed it. The grant we got for the Vision Zero initiative that we're doing came from the US DOT. There's two pots of money at the DOT, the US DOT, not New Jersey DOT. One is a planning element, which is what we did and we got money for. The other is an implementation element. So we can't get the implementation money without the plan. So there is a pot of money. Where it comes from, I'm not sure. Maybe from the Turnpike, I don't know. But once we have the plan in place, then we can apply for additional funding to implement whatever comes out of the Vision Zero plan. So there will be money going forward to do implementation for what we come up with.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the focus on today's situation. It's been excellent. I'm sure it's going to be fruitful. But I want you to ask just a minute, look into the future. Not very far into the future, but into an inevitable future. When our neighbors across the river impose congestion pricing, Hudson County is going to be swamped with tens of thousands of cars and bikes every day coming to get as close as possible to the PATH train and to the buses to New York City. Are we prepared for that?
Yeah, let's say.
Yeah, first, it's a pleasure to see you, Assemblywoman. We partner with Rutgers and other organizations, other groups, to do exactly that kind of planning. One of the things that I know our planners are looking at is hoping that people will not try and get as close as possible, that they'll go to their nearest rail station, bus route, bus terminal, because the longer the distance they take mass transit, not only the less the congestion, but the less air pollution and the less climate change effect, if you will. That's what we're going to try and encourage as much as possible.
And we should be prepared to disincentivize what you just said from happening. If that's what New York's doing, then we got to figure a way to do the same thing to protect that happening here also. Maybe I'll let you say that. I might have been thinking it, but I let you say that. Yes, sir.
Hi, I'm Robert. I'm a fairly new resident to Jersey City, a little over a year now, and I moved here from the suburbs for an opportunity to live in a connected, diverse, and safe city. And so I'd really like to see traffic calming, lane narrowing, dedicated bus lanes, crosswalk priority for pedestrians, protected bike lanes, and continued effort for dedicated bike parking like UNI and other solutions for JFK Boulevard to start. So, I mean, I don't have to live here for, myself or any other person doesn't have to live here for more than a year to know that these things are sorely needed. And I really have enjoyed my time here in Jersey City. I'd like to continue living here and see the potential grow for not only me as I guess a young adult, but people who have lived here their entire lives, people who immigrated here. I have a long history of family that came here first to Jersey City when they first came to the country. So it's, I just want a really safe environment for everyone. And it begins with prioritizing people. So, thank you.
All right, so we have 10 minutes left. I don't know okay. We have another Facebook question. Go ahead. And then after that, maybe Emmanuel, if you'd like to have some comments, and then we'll wrap it up. Yes, sir.
Adam Cohen, who's a resident of Journal Square, asks, per an email from Tom Malavasi regarding a protected bike lane on Kennedy from Pavonia to St. Paul's, quote, we looked at the concept plan for the bicycle lane, and the lane was delineated by the lane was delineated by Jersey barrier, curbed island, parked cars, and striping. Due to the presence of driveways, bus stops, and hydrants, there was 480 feet of Jersey barrier proposed. The length of this project is about 1,520 feet, so the protected bike lane was 30% of the length, unquote. Jersey City has already proven that you can have protected bike lanes in front of fire hydrants and at bus stops. My question is, why is there continued resistance to adding bike infrastructure between Pavonia and St. Paul's despite overwhelming community support?
As had been looked at, that we said at the last, one of our last public information centers that, yes, we could only protect 30%. It was our feeling and our professionals, other professionals' feelings that with the volume of traffic on the boulevard, the lane needed to be protected by a barrier. Other streets in Jersey City, I work on Bergen Avenue, doesn't nearly have the same amount of traffic as JFK Boulevard. It's not always appropriate to do a non-protected bike lane, and we felt that a 30% protection with a barrier just wasn't adequate. It might have even been more dangerous than not having anything. So I know we disagree on that issue, but that was the determination of our office and our professionals, that there was just too much traffic to not have a fully protected bike lane if we were to put one there, and that's why we opted that design alternative.
You had a chance already, so give everybody one chance. Emmanuel, you want to?
Is it time to wrap it up, Commissioner, or is there time for 2 or 3 more?
I mean, we're gonna end at 8 o'clock at 7:51. Whatever you guys want to do with the last 9 minutes is fine with me. Especially if someone hasn't had a chance, certainly.
Yeah, everyone, thanks for coming out and putting this together. Like the person before me, I'm also a new resident, just over 2 years. I don't really have a question, but I do want to bring it back to the Vision Zero pledge that's on the board. I live on Newkirk between Baldwin and Summit that's been mentioned today. The bike infrastructure that I have is a sign that says bikes may use full lane. The do not pass that's underneath has been marked out. People obviously don't care. I walk down Newkirk to go to downtown with my dog, with my wife. We see a memorial for someone that was killed before I even moved here. And it just reminds me when I see the traffic being tracked and how fast they're driving, you know, they're going over 25, they're going 35, they're going 40, 45, and then I see a memorial that someone was killed there. I just want y'all to bring it back to the Vision Zero pledge. You know, it's not expensive, they're preventable. The system is the issue. People are talking about people biking on the sidewalk. Why is that happening? The system isn't set up for them on the streets. So please just, you know, bring it back to what we're here for, bring it back to what you're saying you're in favor for. Thank you very much for your time, and just please keep that in mind.
Okay, we got 8 minutes. Last call for anyone who didn't get a chance to say or question, any question. I have 2 over here, and then I think they're giving me this high sign from security. After that, we'll wrap up.
All right, good evening.
2 more, thank you.
Is this on? Yep, okay. Good evening. My name is Ayla Shermer. I'm the president of Bike JC, which is Jersey City's local nonprofit advocacy group for better biking here in Jersey City. My question is, again, kind of bringing it back to Vision Zero. Hopefully all of you on the panel are aware that Hudson County is home to 2 existing Vision Zero municipalities, those being Jersey City and Hoboken. And both of these cities have been praised all the way up to, you know, the top of our transportation system by Secretary Pete Buttigieg for being model examples of Vision Zero, which is really awesome. But part of the reason that they have been able to achieve this success is because they have implemented quick build implementations. And for those not familiar with what those are, rather than waiting on traffic studies, which can take a really long time, or grants to come through, or those sometimes don't come through, or other red tape, quick builds use low-cost materials to test out street designs and things like bike lanes or pedestrian plazas or other traffic calming measures. And these demonstrations are intentionally flexible, so you can iterate on them and just show the public what a design might look like before really hardening it or making it permanent. My question is, perhaps Byron would be the best to answer this. Do you envision that the county's Vision Zero plan will make use of quick build implementations? So thank you.
Thank you for your question, and it's a great question. So we're currently drafting the RFP and the grant agreement for the Safe Streets for All grant with our partners FHWA, and meeting with Jersey City and Hoboken officials. Like, we've had a great opportunity to understand what we can do in this grant process, right? And quick builds is one of those things. So luckily for us, FHWA, USDOT, they're very lenient with the funds and what we can do with it. And that's, again, doing demonstration projects is something that we're going to consider, doing site visits with perhaps the task force and other municipal and nonprofit organizations like yourself, going to other parts of whether it's New Jersey or even across the Hudson in New York and see what they're doing. Those are some of the things that we can do within the grant process, and we are looking forward to engaging you all in that process as well.
Gentleman behind you you get the last word.
Hi, good evening. My name is Hi, good evening. My name is Juan Aguilar. I'm a resident of Jersey City for the past 17, 18 years. And I recently started commuting to Newark on a bicycle, sometimes in the bus. But my only proposal in that area, I know it's a lot of work to fix a lot of the streets and the bike infrastructure. But one big issue I see in that section, and I'm speaking for cyclists and people who walk those bridges. And then my main concern with the whole area is it's full of junk. It's a lot of car parts all over. I even have a video of me like lifting a piece of a bumper. It's a bunch of weed all over, dirt, like literally turned into mud. And I just would like to see that part clean up at some point. And I'm just speaking for myself and the rest of the people who use that area.
Which particular area?
The part that connects the bridges, pretty much. Truck 109.
Truck Route 109?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's all.
So we should reach out to DOT for the most part. That's a Truck Route 109 is a state road, so we'll reach out to the New Jersey Department of Transportation. We do get issues with that area from time to time. So.
Yeah, so to go back to your question and what my colleague just said, is that's being a problem because what a state, sometimes the state feel like, it's too gorgeous to do that area. So the county sometimes, step in, even the city sometimes step in, especially during the snow. We cannot wait for the state to come in, so we just have to do it. But things like that, what you're talking about, so it's something that, they maybe, will get back to them, and then they will take, into consideration to come and do whatever they need to do.
Okay, so it is 7:58. I've had the security guard come in twice to give me the signal.
The heads up, yeah.
So, to end on time.
So just to wrap, just really quickly,
Okay,
I just want to say thank you, but also I just want to respond to the county engineer's comment about traffic on JFK and it being difficult to add a bike lane leading up to St. Paul's is we have a lot of bike traffic coming from the Heights, and a lot of people asking us how to get down to Journal Square from the Heights. And already a lot of bike traffic on JFK, and a few other facts that we're all kind of working with is that New Jersey has warmed 3%. 17,000 New Jerseyans die directly from air pollution causes every year, and that if we want to tackle both Vision Zero and the climate crisis, then we're going to have to do some traffic calming and slow down and reduce traffic and incentivize different kinds of traffic, bikes and pedestrians. And for that reason, since buses are so much more productive and efficient at moving vast numbers of people, and since bikes are so much better for the climate and ultimately, bike scooters and mass transit are really the solutions, we really are going to need to reduce the traffic on JFK and do a mode shift. And we'd love to work with the county on that at some point, and especially if there were an opportunity to partner with City Bike.
I want to thank everyone for coming. I want to thank the advocacy groups for putting together and working with us to put this together. And as Craig Guy said earlier, the county is going to be announcing the name of the committee or task force. And I guess, Byron, that group will be having its own public hearings, correct? So,
yeah, correct.
Discussions to be continued. Thank you very much.